Shri Sivarathri Mahamohotsava ki jai. Samveda Bhakti ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Gaudara. All glories to Shri Bhagavan. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaunavani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhaskacharya Chitani. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire. So thank you all for coming. As was previously said, we're so happy that you're all here today, and we hope that you keep on coming. We'd love to have your association. So generally, we would speak on Bhagavad Gita as it is, but today is a special day. We're celebrating Mahashivaratri. So today we will speak on the exalted personality known as Lord Shiva. So I thought today I will speak from Srimad Bhagavatam. So we don't always hear from Srimad Bhagavatam on a Sunday evening. But if you come here every morning around 8 o'clock, we have a class here every day, 7 days a week, and we speak from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm sure many of you have Srimad Bhagavatam at home. So if you don't have, we have a book table over there. Radha Mohan Prabhu is standing there, that effulgent personality that looked like one of the four Kumars. He can direct you to the table. But I'm sure you all know him because he speaks here regularly. So if you don't have a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam, you can acquire Srimad Bhagavatam at the table. If you do have a set of Srimad Bhagavatam, I hope that you're all reading it and not just leaving it on the shelf as it is. But get that? As it is. Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam. So don't leave it on the shelf as it is. please pick it up, crack it open, and read. So we encourage everyone to do that every day, if you can, before you go to work or school. If you can take these pearls of transcendental wisdom and take it with you for the rest of the day. Srila Prabhupada came here at the age of 70 to spread this message. He could have easily stayed in Vrindavan and enjoyed his last days there, but no, he came here, struggled for a long time, and he gave us these books. So the least we can do is read them, try to understand what it is that the Lord is saying, and then see how we can put that into practice in our everyday life. And if we're able to do that, then our life will become successful. But if we're not able to do that, then we may have to come here again, and again, and again, and again, and again, until we start reading. So there's one young devotee of Lord Krishna, and he taught us the 9 processes of devotional service. And it starts with Shravana, which is to hear, followed by Kirtana, which is to speak or chant. So if we follow him, then our lives will be successful. Right? So if we want our lives to be successful, we know who to follow. So we thought we will talk about Lord Siva. He's known as the greatest Vaishnava. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, if we go to the 11th canto, this is the 4th canto, but if we go to the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned there, of all rivers, the greatest is the Ganga. And of all deities, the greatest is Lord Adokshita, which is another name for Lord Krishna. And of all Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the greatest. And of all scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest. And so this Srimad Bhagavatam is written by an incarnation of the Lord known as Srila Vyasadeva. So this is the Lord himself that is telling us this. So maybe we should pay some attention to what he's saying. So a little bit about Lord Shiva. Who is Lord Shiva? So we've all heard before that the very first expansion of Lord Krishna is Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram is also known as Adi Guru, which means the first Guru or the original Guru. So from Lord Balaram came many different expansions that we've heard of, we know, and we love. There's a quadruple expansion known as Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh, and Vasudeva. And from Sankarshan comes 2 personalities manifest from him, and they are Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. Sadashiva is the origin of our Lord Shiva that we know in this universe. So Sadashiva exists on the edge of the spiritual world, and is in a little realm there called Kailash or Mahesh Dham. And from him, many Lord Shivas are coming. So Mahavishnu creates from his breathing process, he creates millions and millions and millions of universes. And in each universe, so we mentioned Shankarshan, then there's Pradyumna. From Pradyumna, there's another Lord Vishnu that comes, and his name is Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. And all the universes that Mahavishnu were created, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu is entering into each of these universes. And he brings with him the creative energy. He creates Lord Brahma. So it's like a franchise. You know, they have franchise stores. If you go into aisle 1, this is what you will find. If you go to Vancouver, you go to the same store, aisle 1, that's what you will find. wherever you go, you will find the same product in the same aisle. So like that, the Lord creates millions of universes for us, because we have material desires. And He is such a kind Father, He's created a place where we can come and live out our fantasies. Sometimes those fantasies are not good for us, but being a very thoughtful Father, He gives us what we want until we find out that that's not actually what we wanted. So in every universe, this Garvakadakshaya Vishnu enters, and he brings the ingredients for creation, including all of us souls. We come with him. And then he creates from his navel sprouts a lotus flower, and on that lotus flower grows to the top of the universe. And on that top of that universe, in that lotus flower, Lord Brahma is born. And he gives Lord Brahma the ability to create all these bodies that we see here in this room, outside of this room. The trees are created by Lord Brahma. There's a soul in every tree. The dogs, the cats, the animals, the bees, every living entity that we see in this material world has a soul. And that soul is brought here by the Supreme Lord. And from the anger potency of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva is born. So there is a very beautiful pastime found in the Srimad Bhagavatam of 4 Kumars. So I was mentioning that Radha Mohan Prabhu looked like one of the 4 Kumars. Not quite, but almost. They're little boys that didn't wear clothes, but they're great sages, and they realize that this body is just an outer garment, if you will, for the real self, which is the jiva, the soul. And so Lord Brahma, who is known as the creator, he asked them to go out and populate the universe. But they met their guru, Narad Muni, who advised them not to do that. So when Lord Brahma heard that they weren't going to do what he asked them to do, he became very angry, and from between his eyebrows, a little baby came flying out, and that little baby grew into Lord Shiva. So he's anger personified. So in this material world, there are 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So there are 3 principal deities in every universe: Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, or Shiva. And so Lord Brahma is in charge of the mode of passion, Lord Shiva in charge of the mode of ignorance, and Lord Vishnu is in charge of the mode of goodness. So this Lord Shiva comes here specifically for a purpose. And the purpose is, he has several purposes actually, but the anger personified purpose is at the end of Lord Brahma's day, there's a partial devastation. And Lord Shiva is in charge of that partial devastation. And at the end of Lord Brahma's life, which is 1 breath of Lord Vishnu, the entire universe is burned to a crisp, and that is taken care of by Lord Shiva. So Shankarshan also expands and comes with Garvakadakshaya Vishnu, and he takes the form of a snake, and from all his mouths, fire comes out, and Lord Shiva just simply dances. He's known as Nataraj. You see him in his dancing pose. So he simply dances while everything just burns to a crisp, and it goes back into Mahavishnu, and then a new universe is created all over again. So this Lord Shiva comes in every universe, and he's a manifestation of Sadashiva. But our Lord Shiva and all the other Lord Shivas in the universes, because they come in touch with material nature, there is a slight mixing, if you will. And so the Lord Shiva changes a little bit. And he's not the same as Sadashiva. So it's explained in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Vishnu is like milk and Lord Shiva is like dahi or ghee, yogurt. So when you put some curdling agent in the yogurt into the milk, it gets transformed into yogurt. But the yogurt can never become milk again. Once it's turned to yogurt, that's it. It's yogurt. It can never become milk again. So Lord Vishnu, or Lord Krishna, who is the fountainhead of all incarnations, this Sadashiva is a manifestation from him. And when he expands himself as Shivas, Lord Shivas for each universe, and the minute the Lord Shiva enters this universe, he becomes afflicted a little bit by this tamogun, and he changes slightly. So he's not, it's explained that Lord Krishna possesses 64 qualities, and he possesses these qualities 100%. So he's the most famous, he's the richest, etc., etc. He's the most beautiful. If you thought you've seen beauty, you haven't seen anything yet. So he has all of these qualities at 100%. So his expansions, such as Lord Vishnu, etc., they have those same qualities, but only at 93% or 94%. Lord Shiva, and they're the Jivatmas like us, we have some of those qualities, 78%, but minute. So we can be rich, but just a little bit. We can be beautiful, but just a little bit. We can be renounced, but just a little bit. We can be all of these things that Krishna is, but just a minute amount. But Lord Brahma has 78% of those qualities. And Lord Shiva falls in between, he has 84%. So he is not the same as Lord Vishnu, but he's not like us. So Lord Shiva is known as Ashutosh, one who is easily pleased. So if you worship the Lord, today is Sivarathri, some people fast on this day. So it's explained that if one does a nirjal fast, which means you fast completely without even taking water, you stay up all night and you offer milk, yogurt, honey, etc. on the Shiva Linga, like every 3 hours throughout the night, and you offer bay leaves, you will gain the audience of Lord Shiva. And actually, when you leave this body, you'll go to Mahesh Dham. Unfortunately, Mahesh Dham is not the same as Vaikuntha Dham. So when you go to Mahesh Dham, eventually we have to come back here. So one of the functions of Lord Shiva is, yes, to destroy this universe when the time comes. But he's also representative of Lord Balaram. He's Adi Guru, he's Guru. So there is a Vaishnava Sampradaya known as Rudra Sampradaya. And Lord Shiva is the head of that Sampradaya. So sometimes we see pictures of Lord Shiva. He's sitting, he has a little wooden stand, and he has his Rudraksha Mala, and he's chanting the names of Lord Hari on that Mala. Because Lord Hari is his Lord. So some time ago, in that Rudra Sampradaya, Lord Shiva incarnated as Adi Shankaracharya. And what did he teach? Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Govinda Bhaja. And you know the song. So he was constantly chanting that his followers were actually impersonalists. But he was constantly chanting. And they asked him, and he wouldn't tell them why. But when his pastime was over and he was about to leave, then he told them. He said, you surrender to Govinda. So who is Govinda? Govinda is Lord Krishna. Also, Yamaraj, we've heard of him before. He's very famous. If we haven't, and we're not good, we might meet him one day. So Yamaraj is the superintendent of death. So when the Lord created this universe, he doesn't come here and manage himself. He has his devotees and his representatives managing. So there's someone in charge of creation, and that post is called Brahma. So we call him Lord Brahma. There's the sun shining in the sky. The sun globe is a manifestation of the Lord known as Surya Narayan. But Surya Narayan is sitting on the helmet of a devata called Surya Dev, and he puts the Lord on his helmet, and he's traveling around Mount Sumeru and providing sunshine. But the sunshine is coming from the Lord. So there are different posts, and each perfected beings, if we perfect ourselves, we go to Vaikuntha, the Lord might pick us to come and be a manager in one of his universes. So Yamaraj is the superintendent of death. When we die, if we haven't been very good, we might end up in his court. And when we get to his court, he has a trusted advisor who is standing beside him. Anybody know his name? Chitragupta. And Chitragupta has a long charge sheet. He will read out all the charges. All the ones that we forgot, he remembered. They're all there. He'll remind us. So Yamaraj is there. So Yamaraj once told the Yamadutas that in this universe there are 12 Mahajans, 12 spiritual authorities. Swayambhuva Narado Shambhu, Kaumaro Kapilo Manu, Pralado Janako Bhishma, Balira Vayasiki Manu. He said there are 12 of them. 12 of us actually. He's one. He's also known as Dharmaraj. So there are 12 of us. Shambhu, he said, sorry, I just had a minute. Sorry? Yeah. So he said Shambhu, the first line of that shloka, Swayambhuva Narada Shambhu. So Shambhu is Lord Shiva. He is a spiritual authority. He is there to teach us how to free ourselves from these material bodies and how to return to the spiritual world. So I want to read one shloka from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This shloka is spoken by Lord Shiva himself. So I'll give you a little bit of background. There was another little devotee, young devotee of the Lord, known as Dhruva Maharaj. So in Dhruva Maharaj lineage, there was a descendant called Maharaj Prachinavarti. So Maharaj Prachinavarti had 10 sons. And this is in Satyuga. So at the beginning of time, they're trying to populate the universe. So the king gave instruction to his sons, go out and populate the universe. So they left and they met Narad Muni. So Narad Muni gave them some instructions. I'm not going to tell you the entire story because it will take forever. Narad Muni gave them some instructions and told them where to go. He sent them in a particular direction. So these 10 Prachetas, these 10 sons of Maharaj Prachinavarti were devotees of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So they started traveling west and they came upon this body of water. It was as vast as an ocean, but it wasn't an ocean. And they were surprised because the water of this lake was so calm. And there were beautiful birds around chirping. The place was so tranquil. There were honeybees flying around. The pond had many different lotuses growing out of it. There were blue lotuses that we don't see on earth too much anymore. There were red lotuses. There were some lotuses that only bloom in the evening, some that only bloom at night, some that bloom during the day. But these bees, they were going and they were sucking the honey from all the lotuses, and they were flying around and they were picking up the saffron from the filaments of the flower, and it was just being, flown, being hovering in the air and being dispersed everywhere. And it looked so beautiful, and they were amazed, like, what is this place? And then all of a sudden, they heard drums and kettle drums. And then they saw Lord Shiva emerge from the lake with his entire entourage. And Lord Shiva came there to speak to them. So I have to tell you something. Sometimes there are sages that sit and meditate for thousands and thousands of years, and they meditate on Lord Shiva, and they never get the opportunity to see him. He just does not become visible that often. But here these devotees of Lord Shiva, these devotees of Lord Vishnu, got the audience of Lord Shiva. And I will read this verse to explain to you how and why. So it's the 4th canto, chapter 24, verses 27 and 28. So I'll only read the English. So in verse 27, so now after Lord Shiva meets them, he speaks. Lord Shiva said, "You are all sons of King Prachinabari, and I wish all good fortune to you. I also know that what you are going to do, and therefore I am visible to you just to show my mercy upon you." And shloka number 28. Lord Shiva continued, "Any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as the living entities, is actually very dear to me." This is Lord Shiva saying. So purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So now Lord Shiva explains the reason he has personally come before the princes. It's because all the princes are devotees of Lord Krishna. So this is actually what Lord Shiva said. I came here before you because you are devotees of Lord Krishna and you are dear to me. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 19, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapatite Vasudeva Sarvamiti Ma Mahatma Sadhuru. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. This is Lord Krishna speaking. Knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is, such a great soul is very rare. So this is actually very significant. This is Lord Krishna himself saying that after many, many births, someone might surrender to him. And such a person is very rare. Lord Shiva is rarely seen by common men. And similarly, a person who is fully surrendered unto Vasudeva or Krishna is also very rarely seen, because a person who is fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord is very rare. Sta Mahatma Sadurlabha. Mahatma means a great soul. Maha means great, Atma means soul. Mahatma. Consequently, Lord Shiva came especially to see the Prachetas because they were fully surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Vasudeva is also mentioned in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the mantra we all chanted together, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Since Vasudeva is the ultimate truth, Lord Shiva openly proclaims that one who is a devotee of Lord Vasudeva, who is surrendered to Krishna or Vasudeva, is actually very dear to him. Lord Vasudeva Krishna is worshipable not only by ordinary living entities, but by demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and others. So we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 12th canto, there's a very nice prayer. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stutvanti Divyaye Stavaya. It goes on. Krishna is worshipped by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Varuna, Indra, Chandra, etc., and all other demigods. It is also the situation with the devotee. Indeed, one who takes to Krishna consciousness immediately becomes very dear to anyone who is simply finding out and beginning to understand that what Krishna consciousness actually is. Similarly, all of the demigods are also trying to find out who is actually surrendered to Lord Vasudeva. Because the Pracheta princes were surrendered to Vasudeva, Lord Shiva willingly came forward to see them. Lord Vasudeva, or Krishna, is described in Bhagavad Gita as Purushottama. Actually, he is the enjoyer, Purusha, and the supreme Uttama as well. He is the enjoyer of everything, the Prakriti and the Purusha. Being influenced by the three modes of material nature, the living entities, that means us, tries to dominate material nature. So we want to be, we always try to become control freaks, right? Whether we want to admit it or not. We're always trying to control everything, everyone, and every situation around us, even though we have no control, but we still try. Sometimes we find out the hard way that no, we can't control, and other times we don't, but we will eventually. So the living entity tries to dominate material nature, but actually he is not the Purusha. Purusha means enjoyer. And the name Krishna, Lord Krishna's name, Krishna means supreme enjoyer. So he is the supreme Purusha. But Prakriti is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 5, Apreyam iti tu Prakriti vidite param. Thus the Jiva, or living entity, is actually Prakriti. So Krishna is the only Purusha, and we're all Prakritis. So even though we may appear to have a male body, we're also Prakriti. We are here to be enjoyed by the Lord. Just like when we say that, it's, for example, those who have children. If you have a little child and you see him or her running around, they're doing things, you enjoy it. You sit there and you laugh, clap your hands, go ahead, do more, right? So that's how we are. Lord Krishna enjoys what we do, especially when we surrender to Him. Being associated with material energy, he tries to lord it over material nature. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 7, where Krishna says, Manmano Manmamaivo jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shashkandriyani prakriti stani kanashiti. The living entity in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. So we've heard this before, we're all parts and parcels of the Supreme. Lord Krishna is described as Satchit Ananda Vigraha. So he is Sat, he is Chit, he is Ananda. Vigraha means form. So his entire form is, anybody knows what Satchit Ananda means? Sat? Eternal, Chit? Sorry? Ananda is bliss and? Yes. So he's eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. And he's an embodiment of that. So our soul, our real identity, our real self, is also Satchit Ananda. We're not an embodiment of it, like Lord Krishna. So we can be God-like, or we can be godly, while we cannot become God. Right? So the living entities in the conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind. And we know our mind, right? It's always darting here, there, and everywhere. Thinking all kinds of nonsense. By endeavoring to dominate material nature, the living entity simply struggles hard for existence. Indeed, he struggles so hard that to enjoy himself, that he cannot even enjoy material resources. Thus, he is sometimes called Prakriti. So, I don't want to read anymore because time is going on. There's another page and a half or so to go. So, what the message that we're trying to portray today, that Lord Shiva is called the greatest Vaishnava. We find this in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it mentions, I quoted that verse earlier, at least the English translation, that all Vaishnavas, he is the greatest. He is very happy when he sees that we surrender to Lord Krishna, and he's even willing to make himself visible to us, like he did for the sons of King Prachinavari, the Prachetas, to encourage them to carry on with their devotional service. But it's actually it would be a big offense if we were to think that Lord Shiva is equal to or independent of Lord Krishna. So every morning we read about 10 different offenses that we should avoid while chanting the holy name. One of them, I think, is the third one, to consider names of devatas such as Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva to be independent to or equal to the name of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. So that is the message that we wanted to put across today. Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. He is very easily pleased. We can easily please him. We honor him on this day because he's a great devotee of the Lord. And when we see Lord Shiva, we should never avoid offering our obeisances to him, because he is the greatest Vaishnava and he's the greatest devotee of the Lord. And he is there to help us. So I will end here now. Thank you very much. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for that wonderful talk today. It's amazing that we were able to have you today. I know you're not able to come every Sunday or on this one as well, so we're really appreciative that you're able to be here for us today. I also want to quickly thank Bhakta Gabriel, who is every week here, constantly making sure the right things are showing up on the screen. He's not always aware of what's coming, but he just quickly does it. So just a quick round of applause also. All right, we're going to